Hey everyone, hope everything is going well. You may be wondering, why am I talking about this? I'm going to show you something and I'm going to relate to sports cards, and some of you are going to unfollow, and I don't care. Transportation, transporting stolen property across state lines can elevate a simple theft to a federal offense subject to prosecution under the U.S. Federal Criminal Code. And then I'm looking at it over here. And basically, interstate transportation of stolen property makes it a crime to transport stolen goods over state lines if you know the property was stolen. Receiving, possessing, selling, concealing, or disposing. Let's read this. Receiving, possessing, selling, concealing, or disposing of the stolen goods, knowing they were stolen, is a related federal crime and punishable. Okay? Federal criminal charges for transporting stolen goods requires an act to transfer through interstate commerce any items that were allegedly stolen with the value exceeding $5,000. And I'm going to go into something that's a hot button issue that a lot of people won't talk about. And it's not related to sports cards, but we can relate it to sports cards. So I don't know if you've heard of this, but apparently the individual who got Joe Biden's daughter's diary, well, what happened to them? They were sentenced to jail. Look at this. Joe Biden, daughter, diary, woman. Okay, look at this. Whatever side of the aisle you're on, but they just use the law for this. Woman is sentenced to a month in jail for selling Biden's daughter's diary. Now, I find this quite interesting. They went after this case, but the reason why they went after the case is because there were weird things in that diary. Okay. I'm not going to repeat it on YouTube, but you could look at yourself. It was totally messed up what was talked about in the diary, and it was Joe Biden's diary. And why was the woman sentenced, right? Whether or not, whatever your political beliefs are, she was sentenced in a month in prison and 3 months of home confinement for stealing and selling President Joe Biden's diary 4 years ago to the conservative group Project Veritas. Okay. Now, how am I going to tie this into sports cards? Well, I talk about this all the time, and there have been individuals discussing this as well. And Sports Card Radio did a good video on this over a year ago. And actually, it was card porn that pushed this story. That was a crazy part. And we know what happened to card porn. But regardless, there was an auction. A lot of people, you know the story. Or there was cards that were listed as stolen. This individual from Italy, Enrico. And these cards went on a government website auction house, but they had to be taken down because of a police report. And Enrico got vast majority of his cards, but there were a few cards that he didn't receive back that were still lost in limbo. And it wound up in the hands of Prism God. And then that was later sent to Investicard. And Investicard got involved with it because it was a loan program and all that. And what happened? This case, Enrico versus Edward Siegel. Edward Siegel is the guy that runs Investicard. I haven't heard too much about it lately, but regardless, failed to show up at a mandatory case, and a default judgment was handed out. What was the default judgment? I was told $30,000 for this. Now, he didn't go to jail from this, but just look at this. Once again, makes it a crime to transport stolen goods over state lines if you knew the property was stolen. Receiving, possessing, selling, concealing, or disposing of the stolen goods, knowing they were stolen, is a federal crime and punishable basically under the law. This lady, probably for political reasons, was sent to jail. because I mean, look at what happened in that diary, allegedly. I mean, weird stuff was going on. You could see for yourself. All right. I know some people won't follow me, some people don't want to hear it, but it's the truth. And these businesses out there, that are buying unclaimed mail packages. I think these people probably will need to be a little careful, because if they obtain stolen property and police reports filed, that's a tricky situation. I would not want to be in business of that, because the guy Enrico was able to get a government auction shut down because of that, and you have to pay for that. Suppose someone paid for that, how would that wind up? So all I'm telling people is, if you're going to be getting involved in the high end, and you got to be careful, you got to know the provenance of the card. You need to do your due diligence. You know, how did they get the card? Whose hands it went through? What's the process? Because you could wind up in a situation like this. Now, the odds are low of this happening, but this happened at the National, from my understanding. Someone bought like a car that was $50,000, $60,000. He returned it because it's a federal crime. Once again, let's look at this again. Makes it a crime to transport stolen goods over state lines if you knew the property was stolen. Okay? So all I'm saying is, hey, look, all of you making fun of me, mocking me for buying cheap cards, well, if I find out that the cards are stolen and I'm buying cheap cards and I'm selling them, guess what? It's really easy to reimburse the person monetary value or send them the card back. Cheap cards. Most people probably wouldn't care, for a couple dollar card. But now you're talking thousands of dollars, it becomes a huge, huge legal issue, civil issue. And I'm just warning you that be careful. Mock me all you want, but this is one risk you need to look at. And if you have extra money in the bank and you want to buy a high-end card, like, look at that risk. Look at the risk of, hey, a lot of people may be using that Kurt's Card Care juice as well. And that's why I'm getting turned off by buying high-end cards. Even if I get, the money from a CD that I'm getting in a couple of weeks, I'm not going to be using that for a high-end card. No way whatsoever. Because there's so much hanky-panky that goes on in this hobby. So let me know your thoughts. I know some of you don't want to hear it, but I don't care. Anyways, I'll talk to you later. See ya. Bye.